My teachers mentally abused me for having a disability. I'm 14 years old, and 1 year ago, I was subjected to abuse by my special education teacher and my math and science teacher for my entire 8th grade year. I suffer from dyslexia, and I'm suspected by family and therapists to suffer from autism. I also have a history of depression and currently undiagnosed mental illness. I told my special education teacher at the beginning of the year that I wasn't feeling okay and that I had attempted suicide during the middle of 7th grade due to how horribly my mental state was. I got asked the basic questions: if I'm being abused at home, have I thought about doing it again, etc. But what surprised me is that I wasn't sent to a mental hospital after this conversation. Hell, my parents weren't even called. I thought I got lucky because I didn't want my mom to know that I told anyone this. But I was also very wrong. I wasn't lucky at all. I've been given something that this woman could use against me, something she definitely used against me. The next day, my special education teacher told my homeroom teacher, my math and science teacher. Now, my homeroom teacher wasn't the nicest woman. Actually, she wasn't nice at all. She yelled at kids for minor mistakes, showed favoritism towards the more smarter, gifted kids, and even told the rest of us to give up on trying to even go to high school. But in my opinion, these actions were 10 times more common when it came to me. She constantly shamed me for everything, and I mean everything: my spelling, handwriting, the way my desk was organized, how messy my hair was, due to me not taking care of myself. All of it. She knew about what I was going through, what my mental state was like, and how much I hated myself for my conditions. She yelled at me despite knowing I'm sensitive to loud noise. She told me not to even bother to try to keep my grades up because I'm not going to survive in high school. She told me that I was better off in a homeless shelter because I had trouble with catching up with the rest of the classmates and that no one would want to hire me for anything. She told me to give up on art because it wouldn't do anything for me in the future, and she acted like it was my fault for failing whenever we had parent-teacher conference. Whenever I told my mother, I was left with disbelief and punishment. Eventually, during the fall, I had trouble concentrating on basic things that I wasn't interested in. I'd even black out during random moments in class, and when I woke up, I'm being yelled at again, and I started having a mental breakdown. She was only ever nice to me when I gave her something for special events like her birthday or holidays. Despite her unjustified hatred towards me and how badly she ruined me, I tried to get her to like me as a person. I gift her gift after gift each holiday, showing false appreciation in the hope she would go easy on me. But every time she just continued. My special education teacher wasn't much help either. She and my homeroom teacher would talk about me behind my back, saying that I'm a lazy son of a bitch who wouldn't make it far in the world, and that it would be better for me to give up on my future entirely. It wasn't even like they didn't know I was listening, because they did. I look at them in utter disbelief every single time. Why they were saying such things about a child? They know I was watching. In fact, they constantly looked at me while talking, making sure I was listening. Did this for the entire year. It was a cycle I couldn't avoid because my mom simply refused to transfer me, telling me that she'll put me in the mental hospital if I ever asked her again. I faced bullying for most of the year due to how funny it was to some of my classmates. I was so bad to the point I'd fake being sick just so I wouldn't have to go back, so that I wouldn't have to go through this over and over again. I felt like the most useless child to ever walk the earth. I thought about how peaceful death would be because I'd finally be free from constantly being targeted, so I'd become a ghost. I just sat there letting everything fall apart around me, and the only sense of freedom was art. I'd draw until it was time to go home. I started eating to put on more weight because of how some of my classmates commented on my weight and that I looked like a skeleton. But when I ate, they called me fat, and I was left with throwing up my food after eating. I developed an eating disorder due to this, and if it weren't for the fact that I was born with a fast metabolism, I wouldn't look as skinny as I do now. I had enough of it one day and wrote a suicide note in class that day. My special education teacher found it in my desk and asked me to come to her office to talk about the concerning nature of the note. I knew she was acting. She never cared for me. After graduation, I was sent to summer school for my horrible grades and attendance. I've grown scared of my teachers there. One of them pulled me to the side asking me what was wrong, and I lost it. I cried for what seemed like forever, and my mom was called to pick me up early. I told my mom again, and this time she said that the reason why she never bothered to care why she was letting me go through this was because she was having fun in the house by herself and didn't want me to ruin it. But she says she's sorry for letting me go through this. I love my mom, but I'll never forgive her. I'll never forgive these people for anything. I now have diabetes from that year, and I'm trying to learn how to love myself again. To my old piano teacher. When I was 9 years old, I asked my dad for piano lessons. My dad was a professional musician, so he knew a lot of pianists and set up for me to start getting lessons. Scott was a good teacher, patient and compassionate. I learned a lot. He was also a fun guy. He would regularly have weekend bonfires and invite our families, so the adults could drink beer and play rock music, and the kids could roast marshmallows and run amongst ourselves on his ragged property. My dad has 3 daughters, me the oldest, and was seeing a woman who also had 3 children. So every single weekend there were 6 of us. Scott loved to play with us, and we thought he was the funnest guy for always taking time to hang out with us, all between about 5 and 12 years old. He would let us dress him up and pounce on him, and he loved to tickle us. You could see red flags go off now, but we didn't at the time. We liked that an adult thought we were fun. As I started getting a bit older, the oldest girl at 11 or 12, I started to notice Scott was showing me favoritism. He loved when I drew him pictures, liked having me on his lap. When he took all the kids in a turn a short ride around the block on his motorcycle, I got the longest ride. He took me all the way to a Target and bought me a dress that was way too short, showed my legs off. When we were sunbathing at a beach party once, I could feel him staring at me through his sunglasses. And here is the thing that creeps me out the most. Back then, I loved the attention. I was in a constant competition with 5 other kids, the older, rowdy teenage boys and the younger girls. I didn't cause any problems for my dad and his fiancée, so I didn't need any special attention at all, but Scott paid me attention. It made me feel mature and interesting. At some point, he and my dad drifted apart. The band got a new pianist, and we stopped going to his bonfires altogether. I had already quit taking piano when I was 11 years old and started to learn clarinet instead. I didn't really think about it after a while. And one day, when I was 16 years old, my dad called me and my sisters in for a family meeting. Scott was in jail. He had been arrested for having sex with a 12-year-old girl. He made her promise not to tell her parents, but she did. That said, he had started to suspect that Scott wasn't someone he should have around his family when he brought me that short dress. Suddenly, it all made sense. I didn't know how to feel. Nothing had ever happened to me, but he thought about it. Had I wanted him to think about it? Me, a 12-year-old girl desperate for adult approval? Was I actually surprised when I heard he'd been arrested? Now, as an adult, my sense of sexuality is pretty messed up, and I have little trust in people. I wonder what of this is related to him, if any at all. Occasionally, I'm still devastated that someone I like so much could have been thinking such evil things about me and my developing body. So, to my old piano teacher, let's not meet again. Science teacher. This happened during high school. I'm a 23-year-old male now. I admit I am one of those troubled kids. Spent most of my days in detention rooms. Counselors would also talk me out of it, and I got sent to a local church just because they thought prayers will help me be a good person. This problem of mine went until 2nd year of high school, but I am thankful of one of these teachers, my advisor during freshman year, because she believes in me, bought me stuff, and always advised me to do better things. That is why we would always hang out. We are like friends. When there was a house party, she would invite us and have drinks. Now, during my sophomore year, I had a girlfriend, and that is why I barely see that teacher. When I bumped into her on campus, she would call me and tell me we should go home together. My girlfriend at that time didn't mind. According to her, teachers are just worried and nice about me, right? Everything went fine, I thought. Come junior year, one thing left me and my girlfriend dumbfounded. One day I hung out with her again. We were inside the classroom talking about random stuff when she suddenly touched my thighs, then proceeded to sit on my lap. I didn't move because I couldn't. I was surprised and just froze. One of my friends told me that he thinks that the teacher is interested in me, while the other just casually blunt, "Nah, I know you like it. A lot of guys fantasize her and she just sat on your lap. Consider yourself lucky, dude." I didn't know what to believe in. In my mind, I am still a damn kid. How could this teacher do something like that? Senior year, I let her what she did slide. I'm in a very happy relationship and things are going really well. She organized a small event in her house and my freshman classmates, we ate together and had drinks. It's really good. As time passed, other classmates went to their homes. I ended up not going home yet because my 2 close friends told me to stay for the night. We had a few more drinks and partied. The last thing I remember, I went to one of the rooms and just fell asleep. In the morning, she woke us up to have breakfast. We went home after that. Monday came, counselors called us, and started to say shit that I did not understand. He told me that I forced my teacher to have sex with me and decided to hurt her while I was tipsy. I cannot understand what was going on. I pleaded, but they refused to listen. I never talked to that teacher during that whole month of going to that counselor. They never let me talk to her about those things that she accused me of. That scandal traveled faster than the speed of light. I was called names like horny cunt, asshole, worst is future rapist, dude. I didn't mind at first, but it was hard going to school during those times. But I gotta pull myself together so I can just leave that shithole. After 4 years, that one friend who was there the same night claimed that I sexually assaulted her and told me what he saw. According to him, when we were drinking, that teacher who gave me lots of shots as if she was trying to get me drunk, touched my thighs and even tried to kiss me, but I refused. But when I was about to pass out in one of the rooms, she assisted me back to her room, and he didn't know what happened after that because the door closed. After hearing all these things, I was fuming mad. I want to get back to that school and just tell them that they failed to take care of one goddamn kid, and they blame me because I have a history of being a troubled student. My friend added that they couldn't testify what was going on because that teacher is one of the daughters of one of the school faculties or something like that. Now I realize why they didn't expel me or punish me with much heavier punishments. They were afraid of what other people would say. They are ashamed that they still kept that teacher inside that school working. They painted me as the bad guy, then that shit cost me my future and every good opportunity after high school. So, to that crazy science teacher, let's not meet.